Welcome to Orlando Matters on your Saturday morning. Well, the Orange County mayor and the sheriff are now joining forces in the fight against drugs. Heroin deaths are rising dramatically right here in Central Florida, and so they're doing everything they can to try and stop this trend. Fox 35's Mike Sinan has a closer look at their plan.
350 people will die of an overdose in this country today.
We were minutes into a press conference about how to stop heroin when statistics became reality.
While we were here, I was notified that we were responding to an overdose call down in the South Orange Blossom Trail Landstar area. So this is something that happens many times a day.
My beautiful daughter, Victoria.
The Orange County Task Force on Heroin kicked off today with a visitor. Timeshare mogul David Siegel is still reeling from the overdose death of his daughter 3 months ago from drugs.
My first goal in this fight is to get random drug testing, not only in the universities, but also in the high schools and in the middle schools.
The idea is likely unconstitutional, but Siegel says parents will love it.
If they knew what was going on in the universities, that they'd even want to send their children to a university where drug use is rampant. And if a university is advertising that they have random drug testing, that's where I'd want to send my child, and I'm sure that's where you all would want to send your children as well.
The Heroin Task Force will talk about other solutions like more drug treatment, prevention efforts in schools.
And that was Mike Sinan reporting for us this morning. Joining us to talk about it is the dope doctor, Louis Delgado. He's in the thick of this each and every day. Louis, good to see you. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much.
You saw what they're setting up, a task force there, but let's start from the basics. Why are so many people turning to heroin right now?
Well, with pills not available. I mean, when you go out and you arrest all the pill mills or you close them down or at least get them all running scared a little bit, then what's next? I mean, opiate addiction is not just going to go away. You're still going to need your fix, John. So what do you run to? And heroin's so much cheaper. I mean, so imagine your tolerance being so high that just to be able to use your pills, you're into the thousands of dollars if you had to keep it going up. When heroin, $5, $10 a fix, I mean, that could still get into the hundreds of thousands, but it'll take a lot more to get there.
As you told me one time, I mean, so many people got hooked on the pain pills like hydrocodone, oxycodone, whatever it might be. And this is the same kind of drug, right? How so? How are these similar to the pain pills that people got hooked on?
Well, they all operate on the same system, the same neural pathways, the same opiate receptor sites. So since we all have opiate receptor sites, everybody out there has opiate receptor sites. We're all susceptible to the same disease of addiction should we continue to use opiates. Now, so if someone has a surgery, you and I both know, we all know people that have had surgeries and have gotten put on different pain medications. Well, once you continue to use pain medications, it takes more pain medications to get the same amount of relief. So that's why there's an easy transition into tolerance and then therefore seeking outside of the pills, taking extra, taking a little bit more. And then eventually your doctor's going to say, especially nowadays, the doctor's going to say, you know what, I'm not comfortable.
They don't want to write it at all. That prescription is kind of,
they're scared.
It's taboo.
Yeah, the really good physicians out there that have been wanting to stay away from this problem, they're scared. That's why as soon as they hear or they see that they have to write more, they'll refer you out. They don't want to touch it.
Help me with this, because I don't know the right phraseology on this.
Okay.
I've had it for my back. I've had, like a hydrocodone for my back.
Right.
Okay, I could stop on a heartbeat. Okay, I'm done with this. No problem. My wife would take the same thing for her, back pain. Didn't do anything for her, right? How is it one person can get hooked after day one? One person like myself can say, oh, I don't need it anymore. And one person like her can say, well, this does nothing for me.
This is a great question because that's the complex nature of the disease of addiction. Physical dependence anybody can get. And everyone is susceptible to physical dependence. Now, the psychological dependence that can happen with this, which is the more permanent, long-term one, where people go to 12-step meetings for a lifetime and stuff like that, we don't know exactly why this person gets that part of the disease and not this other individual. So the people that don't get that psychological dependence and don't start the drug-seeking behaviors and don't turn into what we call an addict or a street addict, they look at the other guy and go, well, I got off it real simple. Why can't you?
Didn't bother me, right?
Yeah,
I was done.
And that's the real hard part, whether it be, some psychological factors. There's always some other stuff. There's always comorbidity factors, depression, anxiety. Maybe they've had other substance abuse issues in the past, a genetic predisposition to dependence by parents or grandparents. There's so many other variables that we're looking at, just trying to get a better understanding.
Okay, do you see that with heroin where people are like, okay, I'm done, this isn't wrecking my life, I'm done, and can?
Yeah.
And then obviously others who can't. Well, that's why.
Yes.
That's why you.
Some
have
are sicker than others, and even the rooms say it. For those of you that understand when I say the rooms, what I'm talking about, then some are sicker than others. Some people just get attacked a little bit harder than others, just like sick or colds. You ever meet those people that they get a cold or they get just a little, they're down for the count. Then other people, they continue to work, and they look at the others like you're a wimp. I go to work.
Usually it's men who are down for the count.
I'm out.
Right.
I'm out.
I'm out. Right.
I admit it.
Now let's be honest though. I love having this conversation with you because you're real about it. You think heroin, you think the junkie down on the street who's homeless and finding this dirty needle. But it's now transitioned into, what'd you call it one time? The housewife next door's drug or something like that, right?
It really is now. It's everybody. And that's why I'm glad that you're doing this show, and I'm glad that Fox supports that, because listen, this is affecting everybody. I don't know anyone, well then again, I'm biased because I'm in this industry, so I don't know anybody that's not affected by it, really. And every time I speak, and I do a lot of public speaking, and I get up there and I ask, has anyone personally been affected by this? Know somebody, a family member, a friend? And everybody raises their hand. It's like we all know somebody now, and it's horrible how the epidemic proportions that we're seeing with this. But yeah, it's the people that you wouldn't normally see as an addict that are probably suffering the most, because they feel the most guilt from it, because they think this can't be me. There's no way this is happening. I'm not a junkie.
Yeah, I'm not a junkie.
Especially if you're running a successful business or something like that.
Okay, and you can say this is a question you want to answer. Okay, right. But you talk about the housewife next door, right? If I were to say I'm going to go find heroin today, I wouldn't know where to look. Right. And I don't want you to say something that's like, oh, you go down.
You want me to tell you the streets? Show it on the big map?
But what's interesting is somehow the housewife next door knows how to find heroin, right? Am I the only one that thinks this is weird?
No,
they know how.
Yeah, well, eventually you'd figure it out. I mean, the addict brain is so resourceful. It's like that, what is that little chipmunk or whatever on those Ice Age movies that just keeps on chasing that nut? Right. I mean, eventually, if addiction, I mean, it just starts off slow. I mean, you start off taking the pills, you start off with the doctors, then eventually you can't get the pills. Then somebody will approach you and say, well, you know what, you ought to try it like this, or if you want some, I can help you. And then eventually your connections run dry, or they don't have it. They point out, you hear about it, you get pointed in the right direction. Next thing you know, somebody talks to you real seductively and encourages you to try it with a needle, because if you do it with a needle, this is how it's going to feel, and it'll last longer. It's going to cost you less in the long run.
So it's no trouble for people in these neighborhoods? No. I mean, just the neighborhoods around our station. No trouble at all for them to find it?
No. It's everywhere. And it starts off delivery. So these addicts, these housewives start off getting it delivered or by friends, and then eventually it leads to, well, if I'm desperate enough, I'm going to find out how to get it. I have to have it, because if I don't have it, it's going to hurt a lot. And it feels so much like this heavy flu feeling, this real sick feeling. And if I just chip just a little bit, if I take just a little bit, all those negative feelings and all that sickness goes away. So you're going to find out how to get it.
Okay, we're going to talk about treatment coming up in just a second. In case you have to leave, what's your website very quickly?
TheDopeDoctor.com.
Okay, check him out if you need some help. We're going to talk more about the treatment options, why it's so hard to get off this, much more on our Heroin Talk today here on Orlando Matters. Nice look at Point Orlando on Orlando Matters this morning. As we're talking about heroin today, it's nothing to play with, but schools are now using an interactive video game to try and steer young people away from that deadly drug. But does it work? Fox's Matt Finn answers some of those questions.
The city of Chicago is seeing a record deadly year, more than 400 homicides to date. And one of the factors fueling the violence and murders, heroin. Business is booming, and it's spilling over into some unlikely places, the suburbs.
You're seeing, affluent kids that are using it, so it is becoming an epidemic.
A recent study using data from 28 states reported the death rate for heroin overdose nearly doubled from 2010 through 2012. The biggest increase seen here in the Midwest. In Chicago, the market may be in the city, but the growing customer base isn't.
Most of them are suburban kids now. They don't know how addictive it is, and when you sit down and interview them, they'll say if they only would have knew, they would have never tried that first heroin.
The person is craving that high.
Now, schools are adopting a new approach to keep kids away from heroin. An interactive video game based on the real-life experience of a Chicago teen who survived a heroin addiction.
Relax, man. The guy we got this from is cool, and this stuff is really good.
The game shows that what oftentimes grows from exposure to opioid painkillers leads to an addiction to a drug that is cheap and readily available with just a quick trip out of the burbs and into Chicago. Not far from this middle school in nearby Kane County, Illinois, coroner Rob Russell says the heroin problem is an epidemic.
When you see a somewhat healthy person come through the office who shouldn't be dead, come through the office, it affects you.
The goal now is to affect students to keep them away from heroin by learning how life-altering the drug is, a lesson that might be sinking in.
It kind of scares me, like, I don't want to get into that.
The video game was created by the Robert Crown Center for Health and Education and is being used in over a dozen schools in the Chicago area. On a survey of its effectiveness, nearly 90% of students say they better understood the effect of heroin on the brain and the body, and more importantly, how to avoid using it. In Chicago, Matt Finn, Fox News.
And the dope Dr. Louis Delgado joins us once again today to talk about this. We talked about some of the numbers. Do you really need to get into the schools like this and tell these kids, hey, this is a path to nowhere?
I tell you what you do need to do in this school. I don't think, the fear tactics never really work. I think what we need to do is be honest with them and say, heroin isn't a pill form. These pills are heroin-like enough for your brain to not know the difference. So this is really legal heroin. So as long as we connect the word heroin with these pills, the oxycodone, Vicodins, all these, and I'm not trying to anger the manufacturers of these pills. I'm not trying to get in that fight. I'm just simply saying an opiate is an opiate is an opiate in a lot of ways to the brain. So I think we need to let just young people know that. They're really good with information. They're really good with figuring things out. We don't need to overparent them, but we do need to let them know that it is similar and it is the same, just in case they're not getting that message from somewhere else.
I talked to an officer one time who said, and we were talking about meth, and he said, it's the one drug I've never seen anybody get off of. Is it the same when it comes to heroin, or you can get off this one?
Yes, there's a lot of help.
And again, I mean, he was talking about, I'm not saying you can't get off of it. That was his experience, is you bust somebody with meth and you've got a real problem.
There's a difference in that individual. You see like the soul gone, and like when you deal with someone that wants to get off of crack or crystal meth, those of us in the treatment profession, look, we still have hope for you. We still want you to get help if that's your drug of choice. But there's this soul effect that we notice with those drugs. You don't see with opiates. Opiates, there's a lot of pain involved. There's a lot of disgust and pain in a different way, and you're still in life. You're still going to work, or you're still around work, and all that stuff. So there's a lot of hope that we have. There's a lot of medications out there. Pharmaceutical industry has jumped right in this. They saw the need before we did, and they jumped right in this, and they found they saw
dollar signs and helping. I mean, they were trying to help as well in the process. They knew it was a problem.
Absolutely. So we have methadone. We have the buprenorphine products like Suboxone, Subzol. We have the non-narcotic ones like Vivitrol out there. So the naltrexone, we have it in injectable form. You have it in oral form. We have so much help out there that locally all they have to do is dial 211. And luckily here in Orange County, we have a lot of help, a lot of providers.
Let's talk about that before we run out of time. We got a couple of minutes. So if somebody does need some help, or they know somebody who needs help, what's the first step? Where do you go?
Okay, first of all, if you don't remember anything else, go 211. 211, 211, 211, 211. TheDopeDoctor.com. You want to reach out to me, info@TheDopeDoctor.com. I'll help you find help wherever it is. But there is help through your insurance provider, private pay, or you can go anywhere else that you might know about. Put it this way, just reach out to somebody. Again, I can't stress 211 enough. I can't stress enough that there is help out there. The local law enforcement can even help you. Call them. They're not going to arrest you if you're helping your friend.
They want to help you too.
They want to help you too. Yep. You can call local law enforcement, and even they will help guide you in the right direction or the right treatment facility. You want to reach out to me directly, info@TheDopeDoctor.com, and I will help you get help.
And then is it much like AA?
Oh, there's 12-step programs.
Okay, so you go through it.
That's always in the picture. That's always in the mix.
All right, Louis.
Some sort of long-term care.
Always great to have you. One more time, your website so people can reach out to you if they need it.
TheDopeDoctor.com.
All right. I hope we help somebody with this show. There's maybe somebody sitting out there right now who needs some help.
I can't thank you enough, John, and all the people here. Thank you.
Good to see you, man. Always appreciate you being in here. We'll be back to wrap up the show right after this on Orlando Matters.